Let's face it, gamers and publishers don't always get along. One group is buying the product and the other group is selling the price, so there's bound to be tension. Just 1 year ago, we were constantly hearing about the battle against microtransactions and loot boxes in AAA games. But while that controversy has appeared to die down in 2018, with gamers getting the edge so far, other ones have moved in to replace it, like Nintendo suing prominent emulation sites for an extraordinary sum of cash for what many people believe is the only way to keep old games alive. No matter what the current controversy appears to be, however, as more and more scuffles break out between gamers and publishers, it appears that gamers are developing a strong set of tools with which to combat the monolithic power structure known as video game publishing. Sometimes these tools lead to success, and sometimes they can backfire and hurt the gaming community. But they highlight one certainty in the gaming world. Players are no longer willing to passively accept whatever publishers are selling. Here's a few of these strategies. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. We all know that Twitter is basically a breeding ground for controversy, which usually results in two camps, one on either side of any particular issue, battling like it's life or death over their adopted viewpoint. But when the Nintendo Classic Edition was released in limited numbers back in 2016, Twitter was basically all on the same side for once, against Nintendo. This example highlights the first tool in the disgruntled gamer's handbook, Twitter shaming. The amount of frustration toward Nintendo for releasing such a small number of units, perhaps to make them more valuable for collectors, really pissed off fans and made them feel like Nintendo didn't care much for their dollars or loyalty. Representatives from games media started the shaming campaign, with IGN's Ryan McCaffrey leading the way, which was followed by endless celebrities, video game fans, and Twitter trolls alike. And the backlash may have paid off, with the previously discontinued console making a return in 2018. The demand was simply too much for Nintendo to pass up.
Now you're playing with power.
So what tool comes next after a Twitter shaming fails? Downvote the hell out of them, of course. When EA staunchly defended their locking of certain characters behind microtransactions in Star Wars Battlefront 2 on Reddit, the post hilariously became the single most downvoted post in Reddit history. So it's fair to say that fans voiced their opinion and largely won this battle, seeing as EA had to completely rework their in-game loot system and have since vowed to create an internal moral compass team to review their microtransaction process for fairness.
Sector is clear. Not clear! Not clear!
When things need to be taken up a notch, however, sometimes the shame and downvotes are not enough, leading to full-out online protests. This handy tool against publishers can come in many forms. For example, an online campaign against the controversial school shooter game, Active Shooter, resulted in Steam pulling the game. And if the online pressure is not enough, fans can have the ultimate say by taking their concerns into the real world and responding with closed wallet protests, otherwise known as not buying a publisher's product. This is perhaps the most effective tool in the Rebellion toolbox, as when we look back on Black Friday 2017 and all the unsold copies of Battlefront 2 just sitting in store shelves, it's really hard to believe that such a massive boycott didn't shake EA and cause them to listen to their fans more. It was such a successful protest that it even hurt EA's bottom line, leading to a drop in their stock price. No doubt we're sitting here in 2018 hearing much less about microtransactions and loot boxes in-game as a result of such protests.
The Admiral created Inferno so something like this wouldn't happen again.
I know.
But sometimes the tools gamers use to fight back against the powers that be go a little too far and only hurt themselves and others in the long run. Such an instance would be piracy or leaking games as a form of protest for disagreeing with a company's right to set the prices of their own games and content in those games. One such instance occurred with the launch of Street Fighter X Tekken in 2012, where gamers were rightly upset that a large number of fan-favorite fighters were locked on the disc and could only be unlocked through purchasing an expansion. Perhaps it was the fact that the locked content was actually on the disc already that drove this backlash to the lengths it did. But there's no doubt that the leaking of the full Xbox 360 game ultimately only hurt fans of the game in return. Capcom has to make that money back somehow, and the way they'll more than likely do that is to continue using microtransactions and loot boxes, or by upping the price of games in the future, which is not the outcome gamers are looking for. It's really a lose-lose situation for both gamers and publishers alike. A lot of the tools that gamers have in their power to fight back against large publishing companies are effective and largely don't hurt anyone. Such examples, whether successful or not, are Twitter shaming, as long as the critique is valid, downvoting posts, online protests, and even real-life boycotts. However, when protests move into the realm of piracy, we can't help but feel that this response benefits no one and ultimately only ends up hurting both the gamers and publishers in the long run. Furthermore, it surely won't serve to bring both sides together in order to talk through the very real, legitimate concerns each team has concerning the future of gaming.
I've got the training, people, the tools. We can do this.
Check out these other great clips from Mojo Plays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.